Hello and welcome to Follow Everton. This is the match preview for Manchester United versus Everton, and I'm Ryan, and I'm sort of back. I firstly would like to apologise for being absent for so long. I've had a full house rip out and renovation, and a newborn baby, so times have been very, very stressful and very difficult. And I'm probably a week away from being in my wonderful new Follow Everton headquarters, which I will show you very soon. The progress with that. But for now, you'll have to join me bedside, nice and comfy, in my Evertonian hoodie with
That's
my
the one,
good
yeah.
friend Corey, who's nicely dressed and nice and smart, who's put a bit more effort in for this one. Corey, how are you doing?
I'm all right, mate. Yourself?
Yes, nice to speak to you. Football then, Everton. Oh, it's so hard to get excited for games. You feel like Everton need one big result to kickstart their season. Could Manchester United, who've just changed their manager, haven't quite got going this season themselves, could this be the chance for Everton to cause an upset and actually kickstart their season? Or do you see it being more of the same, sort of going through the motions and not getting anywhere results?
I think it's probably the kind of game that Dyche needs at the moment. A game where he's going to want to, where fans are going to appreciate him actually defending and trying to get out with the points. It's probably the mindset that he absolutely loves playing against them poorer teams. He doesn't enjoy it because he has to come up with something to break them down and something's expected of him. So I think this is probably going to be play more into his hands. So I could see that happening, especially Amarim's just coming in. He's got a second game tonight, a different kind of lineup, although it's for midweek. But
Yeah.
he's clearly not settled on a back line, especially that three at the back, which United aren't used to. So it's something we can capitalise on. There are things to be positive about. I wouldn't put my money on it, but yeah, look, if we can't get up for it, fucking what are we going to get up for?
Yeah, good point. We haven't had much success there last season. I do remember a 1-1 draw with Andros Townsend, but a couple of games where, to be honest, the last outings against Manchester United at Old Trafford, I've been to them, and United didn't play well, and we just gifted them results, penalties, I believe, last season, and stupid mistakes to a poor team, and they're still a poor team. So whether Everton, whether you class them in that sort of category as Everton being massive underdogs and trying to cause a real upset, or actually a Man United just not that good and are just in with the Brentfords and the other teams that we've been playing towards the lower echelons of the league. What I would say is Everton have completely are falling behind in every single metric compared to last season. Whereas last season we were willing and able to win the ball high up the pitch, turn teams over and score goals on transition and through opposition mistakes and through set pieces. Both of those metrics in terms of winning the ball high up and set piece goals have reduced massively. So in a game like this, I also just can't see us going and pressing high up and trying to do something like that. But what I can see is Everton playing a bit more of a mid-block, stopping Man United playing through the lines, through the thirds, and Everton using the pace on the counter-attack to try and exploit Man United if they get frustrated later in the game and commit players forward. And I think Everton have got a few players who can do that. One of them is Iliman Ndiaye, of course. The other is perhaps slow left-footed winger Dwight McNeil, but he can carry the ball forward. And then you look at the other options, and Beto possibly over Calvert-Lewin for me. He has the greater strength and speed and a little bit more dynamism. And then you've got Breuer coming back, who's played 45 minutes for the under-21s. And you know what, Corey? I don't think we've got a lot to lose. This guy, I'd probably give him 60 minutes and say, go and give you everything, because he's got a bit of dynamism. And I think Everton are going to need probably to have two banks of four and then two players at the top end who can counter-attack with some support from the wide players.
Yeah, I think obviously they got the way they play on the Almiron, or at least the way Almiron plays at Sporting, and the game against Ipswich and the game tonight, there's three at the back. Now, United aren't blessed with the most physical and imposing centre-backs. Lissandro Martinez is good, but he's fairly short. Matthias de Ligt has got some height, but he's not a towering rock. And they've been playing Mazraoui as that third centre-back. Whether that's the case on Saturday, we'll have to see. So I could actually see Calvert-Lewin having more success against the defence like that. But like you've mentioned, he'll need a second man there, because just being marked by three men, you can't out-jump three men at once, no matter how tall you are. I don't think he'll go 4-4-2. But if Breuer does play, if he's Dyche fit, I can see him being like the deep lying forward, dropping deep a little bit more, that link between defence and attack. If that is the case, it's a case of who misses out. I'm assuming McNeil will keep the place over Lindstrom, despite him being poor over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But where to play him? Doesn't die go on the right, McNeil on the left, or would you invert them? I think they're the questions that might be the difference in terms of what we see. Not personnel, but shape.
We've got some big questions there. You're right. And first of all, just welcome everyone in the comments and all the viewers and all those watching back. Thank you for joining us. And I really do apologise for the lack of content, particularly from myself over the last few months. But as I explained before, I'll be back in a studio very soon and providing a ton of Everton content with my colleagues. So shout out to Danny, David, and Emma in the comments there. Thanks for joining. Huge question marks, Corey. I know what you're saying. Do we swap McNeil and Dye and Lindstrom around? Does Lindstrom even play? Does Harrison play? Got real question marks over the right side of midfield to the point where I almost feel like it's redundant. And could Ashley Young go in there? And I really don't want that because I just don't think he offers anything going forward. But I wonder whether Dyche will see some temptation in solidifying kind of the fullback areas. But I wouldn't personally do that, in all honesty. It would be a step. I think Dyche has tried to be positive. I'm just going to say, guys, I have lost patience with him, but I think he has tried to be positive because rather than going with defensive wingers and two holding midfielders, he's been playing Doucouré in there, who's not a defensive midfielder. And he's tried to retain attacking options on the wings. But listen, it doesn't work. The problem is, for me, the build-up is completely all wrong. Too many long, hopeful balls rather than long passes. The crosses into the box are so substandard, they're horrendous. The players who are creative are almost too high up to the point where they're not the creative ones, and we're relying on someone like Mikalenko to deliver. Certainly evidence against Brentford, all of the possession was with the players who can't provide. And then you've got question marks over someone like Ndai, and it's like, I want this guy close to the goal where he can score, but I also kind of need him out wide and to create things, and I also kind of need him covering my left back, who's terrible. So I have real issues with where I'm playing and who I'm playing in terms of there's just quite a few question marks. The Doucouré experiment in central midfield for me doesn't work. I don't like it. I don't think Mangala has done enough either. I think James Garner is sorely missed. I don't think Ashley Young has done anything wrong at right back this season since he got sent off. But in the last 10 games, and I've been a big critic of him, he has owned that right back spot to a standard which is passable. Mikalenko on the other side, unfortunately, is looking really poor in all aspects of his game. And I don't have options there. So perhaps Young could go over to the left and you bring in a right back like Coleman just to, again, I don't see it happening, Corey. And I'm finding team selection a little bit challenging at the moment because really not a lot of them deserve to be playing for us.
Yeah, I think in terms of the game on the weekend, we're not going to see much difference. If this was a post-match on Brentford, which I wouldn't have been able to make, I'm sorry, I would have maybe I would have talked about doing things differently there, Patterson on the right, maybe Young on the left. But for a game like this, he's want to go tried and tested. He wants to, like I said, he wants to grind out results, especially against a bigger team. So I can see us staying the same, especially while Coleman's not fit. He's certainly not going to risk Patterson. So Young will stay in that right back position. I'd expect Mikalenko at left back and them two in centre back. That'll be our back five with Pickford in goal. It is that middle of the midfield, the central midfield. Just a guy is likely to start, and then it's who you pick. I know you said you're not a massive fan of Mangala. I think he's been steady. I don't think he's pulled up any trees, but he has been steady. He's okay keeping possession. I think you'll probably go with Doucouré instead, though. That is a big issue for me. Because like you said, I actually think he's okay playing from deep late on in the game when he can come on and stretch the game and use his legs and his physicality. But when you're playing against a team that's going to pressure and they're not tired, he's not got the technical ability to control the ball or get out of his feet. And there's so many turnovers from that. And we lose so much momentum from his lack of ability to get the ball out of his feet and then create that opportunity, create that kind of space. There's a lot of players that are too slow. Like you said, there's no tempo. There's no pattern of play. One of the main things you'll hear managers talk about all the time is triangles, and we don't have players who are technical enough to make the one-time passes and move into positions. I think we've got probably three players in that whole team who pass the ball forward. Branthwaite,
Yeah.
just the kind of guy does, although he's not the greatest at it. He's okay, but he's not exceptional. And I think Njai does as well. Everyone else goes sideways. If you don't pass forward, you're not going to create them triangles, which then bypasses teams. You pass side to side, so you whip the ball in, you're outnumbered, nothing goes on. That's how
It's
you break the. What's that?
you're spot on, Corey.
There's
It's very wooden, isn't it? It's almost the passes forward are to Calvert-Lewin between a fullback and a centre half, where he's got to hold the ball up and kind of wait for a midfielder to join him. But if Calvert-Lewin doesn't win it and the midfielder bombs on, we get caught out on the turnover. If he wins it and the midfield's bombed on, then it's kind of in the wrong areas to build up. We can't cross. And Calvert-Lewin's then in the wrong spot to score, and his finishing's atrocious. I have so many problems. I mean, you touched on McNeil there. He slows the thing down because there's pure reluctance to not use his right foot, which I don't think can be that bad. I'd have him kicking the ball against the wall 1,000 times a day with his right foot and shooting only with his right. You don't touch that ball with your left foot, son, is what I'd be saying to him. And
did you not see his shot against Brentford?
with his right foot.
I wouldn't let him use that right foot again.
Yeah, I think it's to do with balance with him as well.
Yeah.
But I struggle because Decore and McNeil in particular so slow the game down so much. They need so many touches that they can't play. And you talked about it there, Corey. You need the tempo. You need the ability to play 1 and 2 touch passes, they carry the ball forward, and the technical quality of Decore. He either looks like Ronaldinho or he looks like, I don't know, Cuckoo Martina. There doesn't seem to be any sort of middle ground with him. So the attacks get slowed down so much. With Mangala, I saw during the international break, Belgium played Israel and actually lost to Israel, who are not very good at football. And Mangala was playing in the midfield, and he didn't look very good. And you think if he's not excelling against a poor sort of standard of international opposition, then how can we expect this guy to be in cutting it in the Premier League? And I think Dyche is not that much of a bigger fan of him. The fact that Decore, who played all the last season as a number 10, is now playing in that midfield and playing so poor says a lot. But question marks over in that central midfield, big question marks over left back, big question marks over right midfield. The clamour to play and die in the midfield, I understand why you'd want him there, maybe closer to the goal, but he just seems to get marked out the game.
Yeah, he likes utilising the space. And the issue with ourselves, again, is we don't play. I think he can play in that number 10 role as a second striker as opposed to a playmaker. However, we don't have the space for him. He should be getting close to Dominic Calvert-Lewin and working off him. But again, every single ball is played out wide and it's lumped up, so it's hard to work off that. He's not going to run in behind. He's going to get close and feed off that. If you're doing that, you need other midfielders for him to then work off and play to. But once the ball goes up to Dom, we're lucky if one player is close to him, and after that, everyone else sits back again. No one's bombing forward to create that space and to create that indecision. It is.
But we're not conceding a lot of goals, Corey, anymore. I believe we've only conceded 4 goals in 8 games, but we've only scored, I believe, a similar amount. I think it was either 6 goals in 8 games or 4 goals. So we're not scoring goals. We're not conceding goals. He clearly wants Decore in there for the late runs into the box. But if the crosses aren't good enough, the passes aren't good enough, the ball retention isn't good enough, then I'm sorry, but what is the point? Because this guy isn't good in the build-up and he's not that good defensively. So if he's only in there for the late runs on the offensive side and to cause problems and his work rate, it's not working, Corey. Nothing's working anymore, really, is it? The set pieces suck. I suppose the only positive is that we aren't getting conceding goals. But I think if you ask me in 4 weeks' time, I imagine we'll have conceded around 20 goals because I think Liverpool will probably dick us 4-0. Chelsea will probably beat us 2 or 3. City will find a way to put 5 past us on a Boxing Day. I can just see it, mate. And on the other side of it, I can understand why. Okay, forget all the circus around the club with Dyche. I get why Everton potentially would stick with Dyche during this kind of dogs of war period where you need someone to grind out. And really, would you want to bring in a new manager now facing these fixtures? Because are we going to outplay some of these teams? Can we get back, Corey, to what we were good at under Dyche, which was winning the ball high up the pitch, being very aggressive, very hard to play against, ruthless, and very good at set pieces. You know what, Corey? I think the players have stopped playing for him. I think they're not asked. I think they don't care. I don't think they like him. I think Pickford's fed up with him. Patterson's fed up with him. I think Ndiaye's probably frustrated. I think Calvert-Lewin's fed up with him. I think Beto's fed up with him. I think there's a lot of players probably playing under Dyche who are not at their level because they're fed up.
Yeah, and we've got, like I said, the wingers, like you've said, Patterson and Jack, they got attacking players. You need to let them play. Players will play for defensive managers. Carlo Ancelotti does that, where his whole focus is on really strong drilling the defensive shape in the team. He says all you have to train players is the defensive shape and patterns of play. Once you do that, you go out and you let the attacking players express themselves. Dyche doesn't do that. So the players aren't going to be happy. And if players aren't expressing themselves and we're not attacking, fans aren't going to be happy. Number one, the results. If you're not getting results, play decent football or vice versa. It's neither. And like you've said there, a lot of them attacking players are going to be very, very frustrated because they're not being allowed to express themselves or they're not given a fair chance. Look, he'll probably have strong backers in the camp. Obviously, his boys from Burnley, and probably a couple of other players that he's brought in as well, the more defensive side of things. So he will have them. So you can imagine if there is a camp of two sets of two sides, purely speculative, of course, but you can see that being the case. And there's, like you said, it's so flat. You can see it in the players. Well, it mainly comes down to the tempo and the manager, but you can see it in the players as well. And it's a game of fine margins. As soon as your head drops that little bit, even if it's 1%, that's when teams capitalise on that. You can see it from the fans, and it's not the fans' fault. You get there, you get to Goodison, you cheer for the team, and you're excited. Once Z-Cars comes out, you've got the 1878 with all the flags in there, the football starts, and it's turgid. After 10 minutes, it's slow. The whole of Goodison dies down because there's no tempo, no one's excited. We're not nervous, we're bored, we're frustrated. There's no nerves there. Everyone knew that Brentford were there and they were there for the taking. We could have beat them. But again, it's boring football, not very attacking. There's no expression. There's no entertainment. No wonder the fans, and no wonder some of the players are quite possibly upset.
Well, Leicester was shy. Southampton was shy. I thought Brentford was shy. Fulham were very good. But, you know, these were games we've played the lower end sides and we haven't been able to win. I would almost say we've not even tried. We've not really put the effort in. It's just boring. And you're completely right. Goodison this season is we'll do a load of flags. We'll go the match. We'll have a 5-10 minute spell at the start of every match where we go gung ho at them. We won't score because the finishing is utter dross at the top end of the pitch. Fans get frustrated. The opposition clock on. They slow the game down, and you kind of feel like you're never going to score. In that Brentford match, you could see we never looked like we were going to score. But I think so much of it's just so frustrating because I think if you hadn't come on the back of sort of 7-8 managers, you'd be going, absolutely, this guy doesn't deserve, and he's just, no, the fans don't like him anymore as a person. You'd probably be saying sack him even more loudly and shouting it from the rooftops. But I think it's because there's a lot of apathetic mentality at the moment between Evertonians who are just like, this is just the same shit again. I mean, the fourth year of a relegation battle, and I just can't believe it. I'm sat in utter disbelief that we're in this position again. We're going to Man United, and the fixtures in December are very, very unkind. But I think we'd all agree we'd take a 0-0 draw in the next few games, every match. Are we able to hold out that level of opposition? Because I almost feel like when we try and do that, we end up conceding anyway, eventually.
That's it. It's a numbers game, isn't it? If you're just fighting leaks constantly, something's going to get through, and at that point, the dam breaks. And that's essentially what happens a lot of the time when we just try and play that low block constantly. Teams will try. Eventually, they'll have a chance. Especially a team like United, you've got Bruno Fernandes in midfield, who can just pop a shot off from anywhere because he's got that ability. But you're right in.
We need to get match really nasty against you, particularly in that midfield. Stop Bruno Fernandes getting the ball and turning. Stop the ball and behind. We just need to be really clever, really smart, and take our chances for once. Because they're not that good, Man United. The manager needs time. I don't think he's hit the ground running by the looks of it. Why are we going to go there and be spineless? I think they've got to step it up, and I think we'll know in the next couple of weeks. Look, I think the Friedkins will certainly dispatch with Dyche if we have a bad run now, but it's painful, mate, because we should be able to get up for a game like that against Man U. And you know what? I actually think the early kickoff goes in our favour because I think the home fans, they're a little bit less up for it when it's a 1:30 or a 12:30. I think it
Yeah,
suits the side, the weaker team, the away
yeah. I
team.
mean, the home team haven't had a chance to get into the boozers, have a couple of bevies, and then get to a point where they're feeling quite rowdy, quite up for it. You know what I mean? So you're very right in that sense. We should be going to Old Trafford and trying to make it a bear pit, trying to capitalise on it. But no matter if the fans try that, the game will get managed into a point where it's very slow, and it's hard to maintain that level of enthusiasm for a really slow game. You don't go to a game of bowls and start getting right up for it all the way through the game because it's really slow. You know what I mean? So it's I feel like that's very much the case. It's not just apathy amongst a lot of the fan base, which is understandable. I think it is very much the way the game is played, the way the game is managed. I think Dyche likes that as well. That it's not emotionally talks about that quite a bit. So we need to make it a bear pit. We need to go at them and put one up the United fans and the United team. But I've tried not to be too negative, but I really struggle to see how we get up for it. The way fans are fantastic, but when you play football like that, how do you get up for it? Especially 10, 20 minutes into the game when you've just been defending the whole time and not putting any pressure on anyone, no tempo.
I think the difference is in these fixtures, these last 10 games, for a start, he persisted with Keane, which meant the whole team had to play differently. They had to play deeper. We weren't able to step up and be more aggressive. Branthwaite's back. I'm hoping now this will be the trigger to be more aggressive, be more tenacious, win the ball higher up the pitch, turn teams over, and be better at set pieces. Of course, we miss Amadou and Onana in the midfield. Let's not be silly and stupid. Manchester United, big name. You'd hope that would motivate us. The fact they're on a bad run and they're struggling, I hope that motivates us to go there and make something happen. And I pray that we can do that, Corey. I'm going to have a look at some of the comments. Of course, if you're new here, please subscribe. But I'm assuming a lot of our regulars, thank you so much for jumping on. And Emma, 0-0 is a Dyche wet dream. I think this game actually stinks of 0-0. I'll be honest
Yeah.
with you. I think this is a 0-0 written all over it. I think Everton can grind something out in an ugly, ugly fashion. And Man United have an off day, and it's just two poor teams that end up playing for a draw. No penalties, please. Sean's not happy with Dyche, said he's too cynical and cold. Doesn't connect with the fan base. I agree. He's very, very cold, isn't he? He's almost like detaching himself from Everton and tries to, as Emma describes, alienate himself from the fan base with ridiculous comments.
Yeah, you don't have to completely endear yourself to a fan base. It helps certainly. Frank Lampard probably got a couple extra months just from being good with the fan base because he really did work us very, very well. But what you do have to do, if you like that, you've got to be able to perform, and your football's got to be decent. You can give that fault if the football's decent. It also doubles on him is like you mentioned there, the ridiculous statements. Not only is he cold and that doesn't allow the fans to connect, but he does make ridiculous statements, and fans are going to be more inclined to point them out and jump on his back because he contradicts himself in terms of fitness of players. He contradicts himself in terms of where Njai can play.
He chats bollocks.
Chats a lot of one, yeah.
Yeah, the guys, they're all managers seem to be a bit irritating, don't they? Everton managers.
I think managers in general, I think you'd have to be, don't you? It's a cutthroat world. To be able to handle that many egos, you've got to be a bit of a knobhead. I'd be great at it.
The problem is we're just not a very ruthless team.
Yeah.
I think we should be rebranded Everton in the Community FC. Corey, can I get your starting 11, please?
Yes. So Pickford in goal, of course. My back four from right to left will be Young, Tarkovsky, Branthwaite and Mikalenko. No changes there. I believe it's going to be Decore and Idrissa, but I would start Mangala over Decore. What I believe, again, in terms of going forward, I believe we will have McNeil, we will have Njai, and we will also have Harrison on the right for a bit more defensive. And I think he'll stick with Calvert-Lewin. If I was to make any changes to that going forward, I would potentially, Brozier was fit. I would play him just behind. I would play Calvert-Lewin just for the height difference compared to the lads at the three centre-backs who are likely to be fairly short. And then I'd potentially play McNeil on the right and Jai on the left. That's what I'd go to make a difference. They can switch if need be, but that's what I would personally do. Just try and get in between the wing-backs.
Some really interesting thoughts there. United, the small defence, the three at the back. Could Calvert-Lewin, Beto and Broja, a combination of two of the three, play up top, pin on to Lisandro Martinez and the other centre-halves and bully them? And it's not going to happen, but Young could go over to left-back to link up with Ndiaye, and the game plan could be them two have to kind of work combinations out on the left with McNeil drifting over from the right-hand side to work crossing opportunities into the box onto their heads. Or on the other side, Patterson on the right wing. Because listen, I've seen enough of Jack Harrison to know that this boy is shit. Sorry, it's not even 9 o'clock, and I'm saying I've seen him enough. He's no good. He's rubbish. Okay. I know defensive solidity. He shouldn't be. He's a winger. He should be beating players. I've never seen him beat a man. He should be able to run past someone, cut inside, and finish. He's terrible. I don't know whether Ndiaye could play on the right. I don't know whether maybe Harrison could go on the left and help him out. But at Leeds, he scored 8 goals and got 8 assists in one season. He looks a shadow of that player. I don't know what's wrong with him. I imagine he's very unhappy as well with the manager, like the other names I mentioned before. But he's going to want Decore in there. He's going to want Calvert-Lewin in there. He's going to want these players. And I think it's down to communication with them, in all honesty. I think he likes these English players. He thinks he can get his instructions across well too. He trusts them. But it's very frustrating. I can't argue with your team. I was just giving another couple of options. I think Brozia's probably not ready, and it'll be more of the same, and it'll just be the status quo. Let's try and nick a point and go from there. Just before we wrap things up, as I mentioned before, I haven't been around for a while. I've been going through a massive house renovation since July, which has been extremely stressful, and I've just had a baby, but we're coming to the end of it now. Now, this was the former Follow Everton studio. This is now a very pink baby room. So Follow Everton studio in its small form was in here, and that is gone. However, we're underway with a serious upgrade. There's nothing in here at the moment, but very soon we will have a designated Everton podcasting area. Forgive the mess. Let's flip the camera. That camera. We have a new space. This corner here will have a desk. I don't know why that door's still here. That needs to go back on the bathroom. But this is going to be a nice desk with lights, with Everton pictures. The missus doesn't know yet, but this is the Follow Everton studio. So very soon, we will be back in business properly. And I'm very much looking forward to it, Corey.
I'm excited to finally get down there and get in the studio, eh?
To the loft.
It's where I belong.
Really looking forward to it. It'll be worth it. So, guys, stay patient. I'm sorry I haven't been. I'm sorry I haven't been as active, but I will be, and it'll be not off a phone. It'll be with a proper podcast mic, camera, laptop, everything. I'll be back to host mode. But I hope you've enjoyed what we have done. Certainly this preview, which we've had to squeeze in with limited time. Thank you so much, Corey, my good friend.
My
Brilliant
pleasure.
analysis as always, and always with a smile on a face and a great sense of humour, which is what we want. Thank you so much for everyone who's watching, and we'll come back very soon. Let's hope Everton can nick a result. Corey, just finally your prediction.
Do you know what? I was going to say 1-0 United, but we'll end positive and go with 1-0 Everton.
It's because I've cheered you up.
Yeah, it is. That's it.
Let's get nasty. Let's get aggressive. Let's get horrible. Let's silence the crowd. Let's be clever. Let's time waste. Let's make it nasty. Let's kick it against their backside and play for throws and frustrate them and get them annoyed. Let's let United overcommit players. Let the crowd get on their back. And let's go and turn them over high up the pitch. Bully them on the set pieces and go and nick a goal. And let's try and get an Everton win. Okay? I'm trying to give some positivity. Up the Toffees. Corey, good night. See you soon.
Peace.